Hey everybody, KMO here. And I received a piece of feedback via email. I assume it is in response to a video that I put out recently, but the person sending the feedback didn't specify. And because he sent it via email and not posted it, and not as a comment here on YouTube, I will keep his identity secret. He can reveal himself if he wants to in the comments. But this longtime listener to the C-Realm podcast wrote, just because the birth rate has fallen below replacement levels does not mean the population is shrinking. There is a delay. Population growth or shrinkage is affected by the birth rate 20 to 30 years ago, however long it takes for women to become of childbearing age. Because of this, there can be both a problem of too large a population and also an upcoming problem of population decline. The human population is way more than at any time in human history. And while I believe it is technologically possible for the population we have now and more to be sustained, it is just not happening in practice. And we are degrading the ecosystems on which humans and many other living things depend. Animal populations tend to boom and crash, but I think it would be disastrous for the human population to do that. I view a steady state population to be better for humans than overshooting the carrying capacity, then shrinking. This is not a hatred of humans, in my view. Also, the people that are wise enough to think about the issues of population probably should have kids. The trait, if it is one, maybe not, to look at the whole and what is good or not from it should be passed on. Here is a piece I read talking about the uncertainty and different projections of demographers, and he links to a piece in The Atlantic, to which I responded in writing on my Patreon blog the following. Global overpopulation is not the problem. That is the title of an article in The Pioneer, linked below. Population or the mode of production? Someone sent me this article from The Atlantic. 2 conflicting prophecies for humanity's future. Experts can't agree on how many humans will be on Earth in the next century. The implications could be profound, by Stephanie H. Murray. That's not the linked article at the top of this Patreon post. I came across the linked article while looking for a photo that screamed overpopulation. But the text that accompanied the image was short, so I read it. It serves as a nice companion piece to the article from The Atlantic. The piece from The Atlantic compares forecasts for different organizations about global population for the end of the 21st century. All the groups agree that eventually, even the countries in sub-Saharan Africa, whose fertility rates are still well above replacement level, will follow the rest of the world and fall below the replacement rate of 2.1 children per woman later this century. The forecasts disagree on the extent of lowered fertility. The article from The Pioneer argues that it is industrial production that is taxing the planet, not the number of human bodies on the landscape. Nobody reading this blog post, or watching this video, has ever made a plastic bottle. Maybe you worked in a factory that made them, but the production process involves large, expensive, and complex machinery that requires not only skilled designers to create, but a global supply infrastructure to provide a steady stream of industrial inputs. There are no dedicated hobbyists working in home-based workshops, painstakingly handcrafting artisanal plastic bottles like the ones the nobility of medieval Europe drank water from. The disposable plastic shopping bag, water bottle, and six-pack holder are artifacts of industrial methods of production. The people who use them do not make them, and punishing parents for having too many children will not change the mode of industrial production that results in mountains of disposable plastic trash being dumped into the oceans every year. I think that most of the people preaching the gospel of low fertility have not thought through the consequences of a global population top-heavy with the elderly. Particularly in democracies, old people who vote in much higher numbers than young people will vote themselves a lavish free lunch to be provided by the overburdened and overtaxed cohort of working-age people. I worked in the Medicare market of insurance products the last time I lived in Arkansas, and the prevailing attitude among the senior citizens I talked to was that Medicare is a sacred obligation, an unbreakable covenant between government and the people. It isn't explicitly mentioned in the Bible, but it might as well be. At the same time, they think that providing free medical care to people under the age of 65 is communism, and that only moral degenerates would ever suggest such a wrong-headed notion. Seriously, ask yourself if that attitude is likely to dissipate or become even more entrenched as the senior voting bloc grows in size and strength compared to the bloc of younger, able-bodied workers, many of whom don't vote. This leads to a discussion of automation. That might provide a path to implementing automation everywhere it is feasible, without creating anxiety and defensiveness among the people whose job tasks are likely to be automated. I agree with the people who say that no human being should spend their lives doing repetitive mechanical tasks that could be performed by a mindless machine. Okay, so obviously that is not a complete essay, but, it's a conversation starter. And I know a lot of you really prefer scripted videos from me, and the YouTube algorithm prefers them as well, and I like them better. But I don't know, I've got this block. I just can't sit down. I can't force myself to sit down and write a video script, but I can turn on the camera and just start jabbering. But I've also discovered that I can respond to comments and questions and things in writing, and I tend to do so on my Patreon page. And most, not all, but most of the text pieces that I put up there are free for anybody to read and look at. You do not have to support me on Patreon, although some of them I do tuck behind the $1 a month, donation level or support level. So of course, in total self-interest mode, I'm reminding you, I have a Patreon. There is content there that is not available here on YouTube, and all you need to do is find the link to it in the description below, and a wealth of KMO brilliant thoughts awaits you there, and also the opportunity to interact with the other people who take in this content. All right, that's all. I'll talk to you later.